All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
So today we're tackling a question I think a lot of us have pondered at some point, especially if you're, looking for the one,
Right.
that special person
Right.
you hope to spend your life with, that whole idea of one lost, 10 found. We're going to dive into a podcast episode that tackles this whole thing
Okay.
from a Christian perspective, asking, should you patiently wait for love to find you, or should you actively search for it? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a dilemma
Yeah,
that so many of us can relate to, regardless of your background.
absolutely. And the author of this episode starts off by sharing their own experience. Starts with all these fervent prayers for a spouse, like literally checking every street corner, hoping to just bump into the one.
Yeah.
Every morning, like this could be the day. It's kind of cute, right?
It is. It's that initial hope, that excitement. Like
Yes.
every day is a new possibility.
It is. But as time went on, and those prayers weren't, seemingly answered, that hope kind of turned into disappointment, even despair. And they didn't just sit around waiting, did they?
No, not at all.
They were out there trying everything, looking in their church community, trying online dating, even like orchestrating these like chance encounters.
Oh, wow.
And each attempt just brought more tears, more questioning. What do you think it was about all these methods that didn't seem to work?
Well, it sounds like maybe they were so focused on finding someone, anyone, to fill that void that they missed out on doing some like inner work first.
Oh, okay.
It's like trying to force the wrong puzzle piece.
So it's not the methods, it's the like motivation.
Yeah, the mindset.
Mindset behind them.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's where their experience starts to get really interesting. Think about it. The church, online dating, those encounters all rely on external things.
Right.
So it's like they were putting their hope in circumstances and things rather than, maybe their own spiritual and emotional like readiness.
That's a good point. It's like they were relying on those chariots and horses,
Yes.
from Psalm 20.79, like those symbols of human effort
Yeah, control.
instead of surrendering to something bigger. And that song goes on to say, like, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God.
It's about that trust, that surrender.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sounds like a turning point for them was recognizing that need to let go of that control, lean into faith.
Exactly. And that leads us to kind of their turning point in the story. The decision to accept God's timing, even though they were still single and wanted to be married.
So still wanting it.
Yeah.
But something shifted. What do you think caused that change?
Well, they describe it as this like aha moment, like a realization that maybe this whole time was God preparing them for a relationship. Like the wait wasn't a punishment. It was like prep time.
Oh, that's powerful. Like
Mhm.
flipping the script. Instead of a time of lack, it's a time of preparation.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder, how can we apply that to anything we're waiting for in life?
That's a great question. And I think as we dig into the steps they recommend, we can find some answers. Well, the author suggests 4 things, kind of. Practices to try. Surrendering to the Holy Spirit, focusing on your purpose, praying specifically, and guarding your heart.
Okay. A lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So surrendering to the Holy Spirit. I think for some people that can sound, kind of abstract.
Right.
What do they say about what that looks like practically?
Yeah, they don't get too, like, rigid with it, but, if we're looking at the context of the story, it seems like it's about letting go of trying to control everything.
Okay.
About finding love, letting go of anxiety, and trusting, that something bigger's at work.
So less about forcing those connections, more about being open.
Exactly, yeah. Moving from a place of, like, scarcity and fear to faith and abundance.
I like that.
And that actually leads into their next point, the purpose thing.
Oh, yeah. Focusing on your purpose.
Yeah.
Instead of always looking for the one, put that energy into your passions.
Yeah,
Serving others, your calling.
that's powerful.
I find that really empowering because it takes the pressure off, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, focus on becoming the best you.
Right. Not waiting for someone to complete you, but like living a fulfilling life.
Yes.
And honestly, that applies to anything, I think,
Totally.
regardless of your beliefs.
Yeah.
Whether you call it like aligning with the universe or just, going after your dreams.
Yeah.
It's about like that energy you put out.
That's so true. It's like when you're excited about something, people are drawn to that
Yeah.
in any relationship, not just romantic ones, right?
Right. Think about who you're drawn to.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are lit up about something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then they talk about praying specifically. What do they mean by that?
Yeah. So they emphasize being intentional with prayer. It's not
Yeah.
just like a vague send me someone, but like praying for specific qualities, a protection from unhealthy relationships and
Mm-hmm.
like the wisdom to actually know when the right person shows up.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like aligning your desires with,
A purpose.
yeah, not just throwing out random wishes.
Exactly.
That makes me think about that last point, guarding your heart. It seems especially important these days when there's just like,
So many
yeah,
options.
so many options.
It's about being selective, not just letting anyone in,
Right.
but it's not about being closed off to love.
Right.
It's about setting boundaries and honoring your intuitions.
And like having a filter, right?
Yes.
Not just accepting anything, but like, is this good for me?
Yeah, does this align with my values,
Yeah.
my sense of worth,
Yeah, exactly.
which takes like self-awareness and the courage to say no when something feels wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Because sometimes, not every connection's meant to last.
Right.
And walking away can be the kindest thing you can do.
Oh, I love that you said that about self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't that what it's all about ultimately?
It is.
Loving yourself so you can attract someone who does too.
It's beautifully put, and I think that's really the heart of like what they're saying. This waiting period, even though it's tough, it can be such a time of growth, self-discovery.
Yeah.
It's about building that connection within so you're ready for, a strong, lasting relationship.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Surrendering, focusing on ourselves, prayer, guarding our hearts. Like, it's a whole approach, right?
It is.
And while it's, from their faith perspective,
Right.
I think a lot of this applies to anyone, really.
I agree.
So for someone who's maybe feeling lost, discouraged on their own journey, what's the big takeaway from their story? What do you hope they hear?
I think the most powerful thing is just knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
I mean, their story shows that even when you're in that place of longing and uncertainty, there's like a way forward,
Yeah.
one that includes, surrender and action,
Yeah.
faith and personal growth. It's about recognizing that even though it's hard, this waiting isn't empty. It's a chance to become, the best version of yourself.
And what's interesting is they haven't actually met their partner yet.
Right.
But even so, they've found this, like, peace, this purpose in the now. They're, like, thriving in the wait.
That's huge because it reminds us that happiness doesn't have to depend on finding someone.
Yeah.
It's about finding that joy within yourself,
Right.
going after what you love, making a difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that's when love shows up, when you're not like desperately seeking it, but just living your best life.
It's like what you seek is seeking you.
Right. Exactly. And whether you believe in a divine plan or just like the power of being aligned with yourself.
Yeah.
It's true.
And they close with this beautiful message, like, God can change things in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when it feels stuck, there's always room for those shifts, those blessings you don't see coming.
Absolutely.
It's hopeful, right? It's like we have a part to play in our own story, even in matters of the heart.
Absolutely. And even though it's hard, the wait can be this time of amazing growth and like getting to know yourself.
Yeah. So to anyone listening who's out there searching or waiting, know that you're not alone. Embrace it. Dive into those things you're passionate about.
Yes.
Nurture that relationship with yourself and with, whatever higher power you believe in. Trust that the right love will come at the right time.
It will. And maybe while you're waiting, you'll find that the best love story is the one you're writing with yourself.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and always remember to dive deep.